Welcome to the show. We hope you have a blast. Thanks for making time for the Dealer Talk podcast. Another business leader, here's a penny for your thoughts. This ain't a regular conversation, baby. This that Dealer Talk. Yeah.
What up? Welcome to another episode of the Dealer Talk podcast, season 8, episode, 7, but something like that, 6. I don't even know. It's one of those episodes on season 8. Anyway, let's check in with our co-host, Charity Ann. What's up, Charity? How you doing?
What is up? Happy podcast day.
Very cool. Who do we have on the program today?
Today we have Bill. Bill, we talked to last week. The
right
cowboy.
On.
I'm pretty sure he's the cowboy hat guy. He's one of the 20 group moderators for NIADA. He does buy here, pay here, lease here, pay here, and finance moderation. So cool. I thought that you would appreciate the lease here, pay here aspects.
Yeah, that's been one of the topics that not lease here, pay here, but on the franchise side, trying to figure out how to do used car leasing, I think is, I don't know, man. I just feel like there's a lot of value in that, especially during COVID. If we could have figured out a way to do that early, think about the value proposition to the customer. Hey, get into this car for now. And when the car that you want actually gets here, switch you back out. Like from a, and listen, I'm saying this, I know that there's a bunch of issues with licensing and insurance. I get all that. But I'm just saying from a customer experience, man, imagine that value proposition. You wouldn't have a customer on a car that's going to be upside down $20,000 to $30,000. They're going to be paying these adjustments. They're going to come back and hate you. So I don't know. I just feel like that would have been such a great loyalty tool. It's got a bunch of marketing, power. Marketing power. So,
marketing power.
Anyway.
Well, we're going to talk to him and see how he feels about it.
Yeah, but what do you think about what I just said? Do you agree? Do you disagree?
My answer's a little cynical, so I will keep it to myself.
No, come on. Don't be weak.
I think that you wouldn't have seen the profits that the automotive industry made in the last couple of years, so most people wouldn't have wanted to do that because they know the profits.
That's such short. That's short thinking.
Absolutely short-sighted. 100% short-sighted.
Look at where we are now, right? It's like everybody's freaking out.
And how many times did we say what's going to happen is that they're going to have to come back? And everybody went, yeah, I know.
No, everybody said no, man. Like the market's going to, by the time they come back, the market's going to be different and we'll win again. And it's like, okay. So, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, yeah, I think there's something there. I think that the stores that figure that out are going to be like, they're just going to have options. That's power. Not marketing power, but it's like overall power.
Customer service power.
Experience. We talk a shit ton about that in the industry. Oh, the experience, the customer experience. Yet.
Okay, so this is the thing. I think that we talk a shit ton about that, like on that.
Wow, is that the first time you swear?
Level. No, sweared?
Huh? Hey, the writer, go back and see if Charity has sweared on any other episode and superimpose that on top of this one. Yeah, I think you have. I think when you were doing your calls, what's it called? Your secret shops. I think you swore.
Probably. I don't think I've ever dropped the F-bomb.
So, well, no, of course, because you're a lady.
Have I ever told you my funny F-bomb story?
Did you just hear what I said?
Driving down the road. I know. I was ignoring.
I said, of course, you wouldn't drop the F-bomb because you're a lady.
Because I'm a lady.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. We were driving down the road, and my son says, this was a couple of years ago, so he was like 14. He says, Mom, what's the F-bomb? Is it F-bomb? And then he went around saying F-bomb all the time, and I told him if he thought the F-bomb was F-bomb, then he wasn't allowed to say F-bomb at all.
Well, you can't say F-bomb.
You're not laughing.
Because that
What?
you can't. What's wrong with F-bomb?
Because he thought he was swearing. If you think you're swearing, that means you're swearing. If the entire premise is to swear, and then you just create, it's like when people say darn it, that's still a swear word. It's still an expletive.
What is garment?
Darn it.
Oh, I was like, what are you talking about?
Have you never heard darn it before?
Yeah, I say it all the time.
Darn it?
It's not a swear
I've never
word.
heard you say darn it.
What if when I say dang?
Herb does not say darn it. He's not a
do.
lady.
Well, that's pretty obvious. What's that word? Dang. Is dang a swear word? Dang.
It would be considered. It's still an expletive.
No, I disagree. It has to make you feel a certain kind of way for it to be a swear word. You know, if you say it out loud and you don't have to look around to see who heard you, it's not a swear word. That's my rule.
If you aren't in a public place and it made somebody uncomfortable nearby, then it's not a swear word.
Yeah, but in these days, anything you say in public is going to make somebody feel uncomfortable. So.
Anyway.
Here I come to save the day. That's funny. I think the word you're looking for is.
Talking about.
I think the word you're looking for is anyway. That's fun.
I don't know what we were talking about. The automotive industry.
The customer experience.
The customer experience. Oh, right. So
Here's a great way to give your customers a good experience. Are you ready? Great way to give your customer an experience that's memorable. Hold on. It's going to be,
everybody sit down.
Yeah. Like take pen, paper, write this down.
Oh my gosh.
1 hour. 1 hour sales process. There you go. Done. I solved it. I cracked the case.
You did it.
1 hour sales process. And if you want to really wow them, if you want that extra layer of awesomeness, one person through the whole experience. You do those two things.
$1 billion idea.
There you go. You're done. Customer experience galore. Customer experience expertise right there.
So I was saying that, for the most part, I think that the decision makers in the automotive industry totally buy into the customer experience being important. It's the on the ground salespeople and that haven't fully bought in yet.
Adamantly disagree with that.
Why would you disagree with? Because by the
time adamantly disagree with that. I don't just disagree. I adamantly disagree.
Go ahead and tell me why, since you're not going to let me finish my sentence.
Here's why. The customer experience isn't a salesperson thing. It's from the top down. The problem is that a lot of the decision makers and the DPs and the general managers in the industry have made a lot of money with the processes that they have. And they don't, why change it, right? If it's been successful for them. And I get that. Empires have been built with the experiences or with the setup that they have right now. How many times have you been in a meeting and you hear well, that's how we've always done it. That's how we've always done it. That's always, yeah, of course, that's how we've always done it. But that doesn't mean that that's the way we should be doing it right now. And that's why I adamantly disagree with that. It's not like the decision makers at the top are like, yeah, let's do this thing. And everybody's like, they're the owners, they're the managers. You don't want to follow my process? Get the hell out of here. Right? So it's that lack of buying from the top that's perpetuating the stuff from the past. But COVID has really transformed that in a significant way. I think now more than ever, people are willing to think outside the box, and they're willing to try different things. And because they're willing to do those things, that's going to propel the industry forward. And we're going to start to see massive changes in the next couple of years. 5 years from now, I think the whole process, because of the way that people are thinking about it now, the industry is going to be completely different.
Who are those people? When you say people, you mean
DPs, decision makers, general managers, directors, those folks that are now they're willing to. And what was that?
Now we go back to my point. Decision makers understand the power of the customer experience. The breakdown becomes communicating that down the chain. Like, it's the same thing where you go into a meeting and they tell a manager meeting, and you all decide what you're going to do for the month, and then you all leave and forget to tell the people that are actually selling the cars. And then somebody's like, are we having a sale? And you're like, oh shit, sorry, I forgot to mention that. Same thing. Like, yeah, but that happens. Decide what you want to do all you want, but at some point you've got to get everybody else to buy in too. You have to have the conversations with the people at the bottom of the chain.
Yeah,
and
but
hold them accountable.
That's a symptom. It's not the disease, right? And so I think that it's just hard, man. And we're at a generational change too, which I've also talked about on the show in the past. But we're in this weird place where you still have the people that have been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years, still managing things. And you have the new folks that are coming in, that are moving up the chain, that are thinking differently and are more adapted to technology and more willing to experiment. And there's that whole thing, we're at this interesting, I don't know, conversion point, for lack of a better term, where all these things are kind of coming together. And so, yeah, man, I think that it's, if I were to put my finger on it, I would definitely say that it's top down. It's a top down problem, because look, especially in the car business, dude, like, how many times have you gone to the desk or to a manager for not having a signature on there? They throw the paper at your face, right? You're going to tell me that if you're really bought into creating a customer experience and doing things differently, that you're not going to get your people to fall in line? Bullshit.
I saw this, I can't remember the post, but it was talking about the customer experience on social media. And I commented and I said, your employee experience and your customer experience are directly correlate.
Oh yeah, no question, for sure.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm not saying
throwing the paper at your employees. That's totally translating down the line. If you don't value them enough to treat them with respect, why would you think that they were going to behave that way? That's like treating your kid like crap and then expecting them to behave differently to the people that they know.
Right. And that's a different problem too. I'm just saying that because you have that kind of you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of style, you're going to tell me that you're not going to, if you really want to implement this, your people are not going to fall in line. That I'm just saying, it's a top-down problem. Because
I would differentiate when I say decision makers. I mean, like, I don't mean desking managers. I don't mean people in the tower. I mean like your general managers and your dealer principals who are slightly removed from the sales process as a whole. That's
Right.
what I mean. They're like, yeah, we should probably have a better experience. Well, you need to like inform your desk that you should have a better experience, because the dealerships that I've worked for, that's not translating.
Yeah, but again, it's a communication thing, but you need to have this stuff in place. You know what I mean? You have to have the strategy. You have to have the conviction to change your ways. You have to have the blueprint set up. Like you need to have this architected. You can't just go have a good customer experience today, folks. No, man. It doesn't work like that. Like you're going to have a great customer experience, but you're going to do everything the same way. You're just going to do it more cheerfully with a bigger smile on your face. And the customer's still going to wait there 5 hours before they get into their new car. Like,
so somehow, again, I feel as if we have arrived at the same perspective from two different directions.
No, we have not arrived at the same perspective at all.
It's a top-down problem.
Anyway, yes, exactly. Not a down level problem, which was your initial suggestion. But it's okay. I mean, who's counting? We're just
my initial suggestion was that, which I was trying to say, is that while the dealer principals and the decision makers might buy into the concept of a customer experience enhancement,
yes,
they are not translating that down the chain. And you're saying, nah, they're not buying in at all. I have a little more faith in them than you do, apparently.
That's not it. Anyways.
We're going to move on now.
The listener knows what I'm saying. They caught it. They're picking up what I'm putting down.
Herb's decided we're talking about. Herb's decided to move on. Anyways,
I think the word you're looking for is anyway. Well, it is my show, so if I want to move on, we're moving on. Anyways, what else you got? What else you got cooking today, kid?
What do I have cooking? I've got some news to talk about.
Hey, is that your Dealer Talk blanket?
I was going to say, shout out. I was going to do a shout out. You just spoiled my fun. Ready? So everybody who's listening to this on the podcasts, you're going to have to go to the YouTube channel to see my blanket. Look at this thing.
That's awesome. It's a thing of beauty.
Yes. It's a gift. It is a gift from a friend.
Give your friend a shout out.
Shout out to Chris. Thank you for the gift.
What?
This morning I was sitting in here doing work and I was freaking cold and I was like bundled up in this blanket and I couldn't figure out why the hell I was so cold, and then it's because my heater was off. Are you not in the mood to podcast today?
Dude, I'm in the best mood. I just danced. What are you talking about?
You always dance. Okay. Focus. FF.
What does FF mean? You can't say it on camera.
You've totally bombed before, but I'm a lady, so. Crickets.
The writer put some crickets in that.
So are we ready?
Yeah. What do you got?
Do you have anything you'd like to talk about?
Yes, come on, news. Let's roll. What's out there?
I keep trying to talk about the news and you're like vibing over there. So you're kind of driving me nuts today. Not gonna lie.
Mission accomplished, folks. I did it.
Yeah.
Come on.
For the first time ever. Okay. So I read an article today and it got me thinking about this. So the government does this thing where they push and push and push and push for us to adopt EVs, right? And there was this statistic. I wonder if I wrote it down. Do you know what in 2022 saw sales of EVs accelerate 55% year over year. Obviously a lot of that brought on by, I would say, the push from the federal government to, they're like, everybody needs to be using EVs by this time period, and we're going to incentivize you, but only these kind of incentives. And so it gets really complicated. And there, like, as I kind of went down this rabbit hole, there was a lot of different ways in which it was complicated. One of the articles that I read was talking about how even if we are continuing at the status quo of conversion to EVs, we would overshoot the 2050 emissions goals by 75% just from the automotive industry. By switching to BEVs, switching to BEV fleets will only reduce that to 50% of an overshoot by that date. The only way and then in order to get to an overshoot of just 25%, we would have to go into what's called a scope 3 conversion, which goes back to the James Gilboy episode. Because scope 3 means that it's not just about emissions, it's about all of the other things. Remember how he was talking about like tire pollution? Right. Those are all scope 3 things. So the whole point is that like the government's like, let's do this, let's do it now. And then they create all these rules.
Yeah, but we have to be fair here, right? We have to be fair. We are in uncharted territories here. There's no precedence, and there's going to be a lot of instances where that's going to be created on the fly. You know what I mean? Like we're trying to plug one hole. It's like playing whack-a-mole, right? We're trying to plug one hole and then another one pops here with something else. Like you just mentioned with the tire thing. Like I had no idea that the tires produced as much contamination as they do. So yeah, you get rid of one problem and then you have to deal with 10 more. So I think it's not fair for us to be so quick to blame the government. And let me clarify that I'm not blaming the government. I just think that and this is an example of when we jump on the bandwagon really quickly and without fully understanding where that wagon's going. And having to pivot along the way, except that now we're pivoting with laws instead of just, concepts and I don't know, business, I guess, whatever non-laws are that are still moving the world. Right, but that's the thing. Like, I feel like sometimes when we get into not you and I, but when we get into these conversations, broadly speaking, like you have your people oppose and your people that are for, right? But the reality is that none of the two sides know what the hell they're talking about for the most part, and they don't know what what the future, or the not the future, but the evolution of these things are going to be. It's just your opinion at that particular moment in time. And in a case like this, or in a situation like this with EVs and the transformation of our transportation technology, nobody knows, dude. Like everybody's making this hype with EV, and then if somebody comes up with a better engine before this whole transformation occurs, then all this stuff goes away, right? So
I completely agree.
The cool
that's
thing,
kind of what I'm saying.
No, I know, but that's my point of view when we have these conversations. The cool thing about all this is the debate, right? And and on the back end of all of this is the technology, and how that's, for better for worse, it's changing, and it's changing at a fast pace. And in the pursuit of one or the other thing, we're going to come out with options and alternatives and things that are better than what we have right now, which it feels like the combustion engine sort of a deal. It just seems very, old. I don't know, man. It just feels like we should just have better stuff. I don't know. Just my thoughts.
Well, and then I that's what I'm saying. I completely agree. We're all just trying to figure it out together. And a lot of times it gets frustrating, because when we're trying to figure it out, I think that then all of a sudden we get these rules and regulations that hit us when we're still trying to just figure it all out.
Right.
Another one is that Tesla, their charging stations, let me see if I saved this one. So Elon Musk has often talked about opening his charging network to competitors, but has never actually done so in the United States, where the company dominates the electric vehicle market. Now, the brash CEO may have 7.5 billion reasons to accelerate those plans. The U.S. Department of Transportation next week is expected to finalize requirements that will pressure Tesla to expand beyond its proprietary charging equipment in the U.S. This being a problem because it creates a situation where Tesla will have to balance the subsidies that the government will be offering with their competitive edge in the market. Oh no, I think that it's just really interesting to watch again firsthand that the delicate balance between government regulation and progression of science and progression of business. And these articles that I've been reading all through season 7 and for the last year, a lot of them are like that. You know, the legal case in California about autonomous driving or this kind of stuff. It's all based on how much reach and how much does the government have, and how much is that going to stymie progression? Yeah,
but I think final comment here, and then we got to get Bill into the show, or he's gonna bounce. But I think in the beginning you need government, because you need somebody to set the boundaries here, and you know what I mean. Like, you can't let private businesses do that, because obviously they would logically so set them to their favor. And there's stakeholders and all these things that are impacted not just positively but negatively, these things. And so you need some sort of control. So I'm not opposed to I think it's necessary in the beginning, and eventually I think it needs to be less and less. I just think it's a delicate. It needs to be less and less regulated, and then business needs to take hold, because the formula that we have in this country is proven to work, right? So, but anyways, let's get our guest here, Bill Elizondo, Group Moderator. What's up, Bill? How you doing, sir? Welcome to the show again.
Hey.
What's happening, man?
Hello.
How are you all?
We're doing great. Love the hat, sir.
Got it. I got to keip it going. I started already once. I better.
Right on. He's committed. Good.
I really wasn't up until, maybe about 6 months ago. I really had not ever committed to a hat. And in fact, my wife will tell you, why are you wearing that inside?
I love it. Good
That's
stuff.
So, well, we did a lot of work on a ranch years ago. We still have the ranches now. I just don't get back home to Texas as often. So that's my only gig. But other than that, all is good.
Now more than ever, businesses need more efficient sales. That's why thousands of dealerships trust 4Eyes to help with things like automated inventory email updates and ensuring all of your leads get into the CRM. To try 4Eyes for free, visit 4eyes.io/dealertalk. That's 4eyes.io/dealertalk.
Right on. So you've been on the show already this season. This season is all about things NIADA. We typically kick things off with an intro, but you already did that. So let's.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, yeah. So as a 20 group moderator, my part of my responsibilities are to moderate different groups. I've got 3 different types of groups that I moderate for. I moderate a lease here, pay here, 4 buy here, pay here, and 1 finance group. My job and my role is to make sure that we have a good agenda and or topics that we're going to be talking about, making sure that the insight and information that we're going to be sharing with each other is going to be good enough and or something beneficial to each of the members that is going to be there in attendance for these groups. So it's a lot of times it's prep work from me. It's making sure that I'm going in and looking at and identifying what I feel would be potential issues or concerns at that point in time as well. So, that's, I think, a bigger part of my role that I have is I'm ensuring that we're going to have a good educational meeting. And at the same time, everybody's going to be sharing. So, within our 20 groups themselves, everybody has financial data that they provide to us, and we have a composite that we actually look at and go through. And this is kind of one of our composites right here is, this is what we have. And from that information that we get there, we use that, or I use that specifically to kind of go through and say, okay, I can see some trends of some things that you're not doing or you could be doing better. Can you talk about this? What's happening within your organization? What's happening for this last few months? Because this wasn't that way 4 months ago when the last time we met. So we meet 3 times a year. We have the chance to be able to talk in between. But in a lot of cases, we're going to meet at these times and we're going to be discussing all the different facets of their business, what's happening from then till now. They make different commitments. I hold people to their commitments as to what they did or didn't do. And then, make sure that, at the end of the day, my job and role is to make sure that we have people that are going to be that are suited to be in the same group for the same size, same concept, same ideas as to what they want to do, whether they want to grow, whether they want to kind of stay where they're at, but to continue to be profitable. Or, they're looking for other opportunities to maybe venture out and say, you know what, I want to do more than where I'm at now. So that is a lot of my role as to what I do with the 20 groups. With the other groups that we have a retail group that is moderated by Ed Curry, who we met the last time we were on this show. Mm-hmm. And then Ben Goodman, and Ed also does a service group for retail dealers. And then Ben Goodman does he does buy here, pay here, but he also has a service group specifically for buy here, pay here. And in this space, there's not a lot of people that are doing specific for buy here, pay here. And it's a totally different idea and mindset on when you're in retail and you're selling out an account directly to a finance company or to a bank or somebody else at that point in time. and you're not keeping that account for yourself. So you don't have any residual, any customers that are going to be yours that are coming back. They're through a finance company. They might still come back to do business with you, but they're not doing business with you because they have because you have a vested interest in them, other than just to make sure that they're continue to be happy. But in the buy here, pay here space, it's a little different, because you want to keep that person in that car, because if that person's not in that car and they don't want to be in that car, they're not going to pay you. And that becomes a bigger issue at that point in time. So that's a big thing to us. So that's another one of the groups that we have, and that Ben Goodman moderates for at that point in time. And, the other thing that we try to do is, if we find that a member or a dealer is probably not where they could be, and they could be in a different group, or maybe there's a different fit for them at that point in time, we talk with them and, hey, you know what, maybe this might be a better fit for you at that point in time. And even now we've got what we've started which is a jumpstart group. And a jumpstart group means that they start almost immediately, starting putting information into the composite and making sure that it's good, making sure that we educate them on what they should be putting in there, how it should be put in there, and what they should be looking for when they're actually looking at this. Because if you've never been in a 20 group before, you're going to say, oh, I'm doing great. I don't have to worry about I'm making money. Well, that could be true, but how much better could you be if you were actually comparing yourself to somebody else?
I love that.
Why,
there are stores, there's people out there that they're like, wow, man, like, we crushed it this month. And it's like, yeah, dude, but you're at the bottom 5% in the nation. So like, who gives a crap, right?
Yeah. So in our composite book itself, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but in our composite book, we have where you're on two different, there's two different pages, and on these pages, all the dealers are ranked against each other. So if you're on the right-hand side of the page, you're not doing as well as the people that are on the left-hand side of the page. We have the benchmarks and the averages of the different groups, and or the, just as a whole, if it's the buy here, pay here industry, or if it's the lease here, pay here, or finance, whatever the case may be, they're compared against their peers. And so, you might have, like you said, hey, you know what? I did great. Yeah, but how good did you really do?
Right. Yeah. So how can dealers participate? Like if I'm an independent dealer and I'm looking for a way to improve and get better and, like understand where I fall within my market and what the average, at least the averages are. So that if I'm below that, I can at least start to, have a goal, right? How can I, as an independent dealer or a buy here, pay here dealer, participate?
So a couple of different ways, let me step back just for a second here and kind of talk a little bit about, we just recently merged with the dealer performance groups. That was breaking news about 2 weeks ago that just kind of came out. The dealer performance groups were another group of 20 groups or similar types. They're called dealer performance groups, 20 groups. They're very similar. They're members that getting together, sharing ideas, sharing thoughts, and having what we call, or what I discuss, and I think all of us kind of talk about, is a board of directors. You actually have individuals that are, going to be telling you, I don't think you're really doing that great. Let me tell you what I see here and what's happening, because I think you're going down the wrong path. Or, hey, fantastic, good job, but at the end of the day, they're going to be honest and straightforward with you, because they're a non-competing dealer, because we don't get anybody that's going to be in that same space, in that same area that they're doing business. How can people get involved? Easily enough that they can go on to our NIADA website, and they can look in there to be able to find the 20 group page, sign up, and we have someone that will be contacting them to discuss, where do you fit? What kind of business are you in? What are you looking to try and accomplish? So it's the conversations that we go through, and we've actually done a much better job. I don't think that in the past that we have almost every other week or so, we have a call with all these individuals that are going to potentially be a member candidate. Now, a member candidate is someone that has not been in a 20 group. They're not in a group right now. Specifically, they have not been voted in, because that's part of it. They get voted in, if they're going to fit in that group, and they offer information and insight and knowledge to that group. They'll let them in. If not, maybe not. But in most cases, they do. I would say upwards of 99% of everybody gets in. But there's still that point where, maybe it's not a fit. And maybe you don't feel it's a fit either. So when you go through and we talk to you in these jumpstart groups, we truly look at and try to identify the best group that's going to fit for you. And then at the same time, that it's going to fit for them as well in the group they're already there. So that's how they kind of get involved. They go to the NIADA page and fill out some information. Then we get in contact with them. And we've got a gentleman by the name of John Dismukes that actually does that specifically for us now. And we just hired him on not more than just a few months ago. But he has done a fantastic job, and he does a great job of following up with people.
Right on. So one of the things I wanted to take an opportunity to discuss here and get your kind of like the breakdown from you, because I get this sometimes from decision makers when I'm consulting, is they're afraid to participate in these 20 groups or these performance groups because they don't want to share their information, right? They're very guarded about, or some of them don't even know. They think that I need to give all this information, that it isn't necessarily the case. And there's ways that you could do it. I know on the franchise side where you can share information without really sharing, you know what I mean? Kind of like your secret sauce or whatever.
Right.
For people that listen to this, are like, man, I want to participate, but I don't feel comfortable sharing my financials, or I don't feel comfortable sharing my strategy fully. What is it really that they need when you guys get together to have these performance review sessions? Can you tell us about that? What are the requirements as far as information that I need to share for my store so that they know what they're getting into in advance?
Well, so they share all their business. They basically open up the books. So I understand, and let me tell you, I've been down that road with individuals that, hey, I don't feel comfortable. I don't want to share. You're right, my secret sauce. But these are non-competing dealers. There's a guy, he's 3 states away, or he's 2 states away, or he's, just over 500 miles away from you at that point in time. They're not looking to go into your market. You're not looking to go into their market. But at the end of the day, who are you going to confide in to have the best ideas of what is actually going on in this business? So when they share their financial information, when they share their business model and, what they're doing with their employees, how they're keeping their employees, what they're, they're sharing this, and it might be great, but maybe I've got a better idea that's going to help you at that point in time. And I'm going to give you something that you probably didn't even think about. We have at least once to 3 times a year in different groups, have different ways that they do it, but at least one time a year, we have a best idea contest. That best idea contest could all of a sudden save you so much money that you never even thought of. That, man, you know what? That just made me, it just gave me the opportunity to be able to save a lot of money or make a lot of money. At that point in time, is it worth it to you to be able to say, you know what? Hey, I opened my books up to these people. The other thing I'm going to tell you is this information doesn't go anywhere else. That group doesn't share this information with anybody else. That they sign an agreement, and there's bylaws that talk about, this, anything that's discussed in this room and with these members stays here. So we don't just, I've got all these different groups. I don't go to each group and talk about the other group. That's not what we do. We make sure that information is kept confidential within that group. But at the end of the day, there's some very open conversations, and you're going to be held accountable for what you've done or not done. And you know what? If they see that maybe you didn't fill out your information correct, or there's something that doesn't seem right, they'll call you out on it, and they'll say, hey, you know what? This doesn't look right. Tell me exactly, how you calculated this, because these numbers don't seem like from what I see on these other pages, this doesn't add up. So you're going to have to tell me exactly how this works, because I don't see it. And, again, it's that almost brutal honesty that makes it a difference when you're having that conversation.
Yeah. And I would say it's great to be amongst peers, right? And people that are doing the same thing that you are on a day-to-day basis, that could have different perspective, different experiences. And probably the biggest takeaway from those meetings is the ability to learn from others. And there's always, I don't think I've ever been to a 20 group that I walk away and I'm like, man, I learned some stuff. I didn't know this.
Yeah.
I picked up some tips on whatever, and it's stuff that I've been able to implement, at other stores and things of that nature. So
absolutely. I'm sorry so we actually have, a lot of times, some of these members will bring, maybe depending on their topic. So this last time they brought their collection managers to this meeting. And at that point in time, they had their collection managers listening to some of these other owners and or business people that would tell them, here's what I'm doing. Well, one lady had 3 pages worth of notes, and it's a lot of notes. You can't go and implement everything immediately, but you've got stuff for the next year that you're going to be able to work on. I would never say go from one of these meetings and all of a sudden implement everything you learned, because then you're not going to really and truly know what really worked and what was that secret little, or that one thing that made the difference. But what I do say is, take a few of these things, start to work on them, start to develop them. If they work and they do a good job, well, then you know what? Hey, maybe you can share that with somebody else saying, hey, I tried that idea. That was fantastic. I mean, there's these new tools or new devices that a lot of people don't know, because again, you're bombarded, these dealers are bombarded all the time with marketing ideas and with people that are calling them, trying to sell them something.
Sure.
Sometimes they don't take the time to listen because they don't have the time. These groups give you the chance to be able to say, okay, hey, I used this product for the last year. Let me tell you how it works. Let me tell you what it does. And let me tell you how it has benefited my business.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. The other thing too is, like you said, none of that information is shared, and there's the level of accountability too is another thing that I wanted to mention here, because it's always good to have that, and to know that that the people you're interacting with in these meetings they're gonna call you out if they see any BS, and they're also gonna hold you accountable to whatever your goals or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So there's some side benefits to them as well. So.
Oh, absolutely. And here's the other thing that I'll say, it's not just in the meetings. Think of it this way. A lot of times these guys will have additional conversations. It's that lunch or that dinner, or, you're having a few drinks and you're talking. You get those nuggets that you might not have ever gotten in the meeting, because it's a one-on-one that you're going to have with some, or maybe it's 3 or 4 people sitting at a table together, all eating dinner, sharing things, and someone, says, hey, well, let me tell you, I forgot to tell you when I was in the meeting, because I was, whatever, I was looking at my numbers or doing something else or taking down my notes myself. But here's what I would do. Here's how I would do it. And they go into specifics on some of those things. And that's a big thing also. I implore every one of these members to contact and talk to the members outside of the meetings. Everybody's got, so we give them a full list of all of their members in the group, so they can call them, email them, talk to them. In fact, some of my members now, which is the greatest thing in the world, they'll go to the other members' dealerships and they'll show them around. Hey, let me show you exactly what I'm doing here. I mean, how valuable is that? I mean, who's going to open up their doors to say, come on in? Not the guy next door to you.
Yeah.
But the guy that's 2 states away, probably so.
Yeah, just being able to call somebody like in the middle of a situation too, and be like, "Hey, man, I have this is going on at my store right now. How did you deal with it? Have you had a similar situation like this?" It's those resources are super valuable for sure.
Absolutely, Herb.
Yeah. Anyways, hey man, thank you so much for doing this again. We really appreciate it. I like the
Sure.
I really wanted to talk about this particular topic, about these meetings and these groups, and kind of share this information with folks who are maybe on the fence, or maybe they're looking for that extra edge and they don't know what to do. I mean, this is the way to go for sure, is, connect with the NIADA and go to these meetings and connect with people that are doing what you're doing on a daily basis and learn from their wins and and from their failures too, right? So that you don't make the same mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there a cost associated to this for dealers? Is that something that you know what I mean? Is it something that might deter them from joining?
It is. There is, and I hopefully it doesn't deter them, because I think they can look at the bigger picture of it. But yes, there is a cost. So it's $395 a month, billed quarterly, which is about $11.85 or so. And then of course you analyze that. That's one of the costs. You also have a prorate cost, and the prorate is going to be whatever and however number of members that are going to go to the event, whatever the case may be. So if there's, 20 dealers and you go and you spend, $1,000, well, then you divide that by, the 20 dealers that are there, or the 20 members, or the 20 people that are there. Because sometimes they take their wives, they take their significant others, something else, that they're going to take, and that cost is going to be split by all the members in that particular group. Well, that's a great thing, and it starts to lessen the amount of money that you're actually outlaying at that point in time as well. Of course, there's the cost to get there in the hotels, but we negotiate great rates for the hotels. We do a good job of making sure that we get what the best, not only rates, but the best meeting spaces that are going to be affordable in a lot of cases. Now, some groups, they like to go and they don't mind, having a nicer area. They want to be at a nicer hotel. That's okay. But we also understand, and we know, and then this is going to go a little bit more to the individuals that you're talking about that are questioning. That's an expense. That's a lot of money. I'm going to be out of my business, and I'm not going to be making any money. Well, we've got express groups, which is going to be, a lot shorter time period that they're going to be away. It's going to be at airport hotels. It's going to give them a chance to come in, get educated, talk to other dealers, go through the composite, make sure that, they get the same amount of information in a shorter period of time. But, we meet on a Sunday afternoon till, midday, or a little bit later than midday on Monday. So it's only about a full day and a half that you're actually out of your business at that point in time. And you say, well, hold on, but the cost, Bill, that's a lot of money. If you start to put the money together and you say, okay, how much money am I spending on dinners, this, that, or the other thing? And I don't really get enough information from the people that I'm actually spending time with, that they're going to give me nuggets and or knowledge that's truly going to be the benefit to me being able to be more successful in my business. That's where you're going to find a lot of these things. And, most every 20 group member, if you interviewed some of them or all of them, they'll always tell you, should have done this when I first started. I should have done. I have guys that have been in the business for 30 years. They just got in for the first year, and they're like, gosh, I've heard of this for such a long time. I just, I just didn't pull the trigger. I should have done this so much longer. I would have been more successful. I would have had a lot more fun. And you know what? At the end of the day, there's a lot of great people that are in these groups, because you know what? They're all trying to do the exact same that you're trying to do as a dealer. They're trying to grow. They're trying to get better, and they're trying to get educated on what, and hone in their skills on this business that they're in.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, think about it this way. If you go, and I guarantee you, this is my personal promise to you. If you do this, if you go and you commit and you pay the money and you go to these events and you're serious about it, you're going to come back every time with a nugget, with an idea, something that's going to actually make you money. So the money that you're spending on these things is irrelevant. It really is.
That's right.
So
that's right. Because, maybe you didn't know that you were spending so much money on the marketing side of this business, or how much you're paying, in marketing per car. Who looks at that until you go to some of these groups and you think about it? You're only looking at, that's $3,000 I'm going to pay a month, in marketing. Yeah, but how many cars are you selling? What does that equate to on the amount of cars that you've sold, and then how much you're spending, so that you can actually, well, why is this guy he's half of my cost and he's selling more cars than me? Mm-hmm. There's the thought right there. All of a sudden, boom, you got some great conversation going at that point in time.
For sure. Anyway, Bill, thanks again, man, for doing this. We really, really appreciate it. There is one question that we ask everybody that comes on the show, and that's, where do you see the automotive industry headed in the next 5 years, and why? But you already answered that. So we're going to twist it a little bit. Where do you see the specific independent dealer side of the business going in the next 5 years, and why?
The independent dealer business is going to be, as far as on the retail side, it might be a little tougher because, if you're just doing financing directly with finance companies that are tightening up right now, it's going to be a little bit more difficult is the opinion that I have at this point in time. And just some of the numbers and some of the things that I'm hearing from different finance companies in different areas, that's going to be, and it seems to be a potential issue for the buy here, pay here independent dealers and or lease here, pay here independent dealers. This is going to be a great year. I see this 1 year, possibly 2 years, that it's going to be fantastic. 3 years from now, there could be some changes, but with the raising of the interest rates and, your markup of what you had to buy the car for, there's only going to be a certain amount of spread that you're going to be able to make. And some of these finance companies, they're tightening up. They're asking for more stipulations. They're asking for, a bigger discount, or they're talking about different things like that. Whereas if you're in the buy here, pay here, you're kind of calling your own shots. You are the finance company. So that gives you a little bit more of an advantage. So I see that as the bigger thing that's going to grow going forward in the next few years.
Right on. Well, there you have it, folks. Bill, thank you so much for doing this, man. We really appreciate it. And thanks everybody for tuning in. That's all the time we have for today. And as usual, we'll talk later.
We only host a well-respected. The vendor Lexus Nexus. We don't sell digital marketing. What you do? We inspected with our DT vendor management.
Now more than ever, businesses need more efficient sales. That's why thousands of dealerships trust 4Eyes to help with things like automated inventory email updates and ensuring all of your leads get into the CRM. To try 4Eyes for free, visit 4eyes.io/dealer talk. That's 4eyes.io/dealer talk.